It is my immense pleasure to introduce our next expert, Dr. B.C. Prabhudev. I brief about our expert's profile. He is an academic and scientist and faculty of Development of Management Studies, Bengaluru Central University. He has a passion for primary and higher education, sustainable development, creative and innovative studies, urban rural planning and development, social justice and empowerment, environmental studies, solid waste, air and water management, climate change, ecology studies. He holds Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Science, MBA, and PhD from Bangalore University. He also rich experience in software industry. He is honored as scientist from Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India, New Delhi, for his contribution in drafting national education policy. He is also principal investigator for ICSSR, Minister of Human Resources Development, Government of India. He is an expert training member of UGC, HRDC at Bangalore University, Fizel Policy Institute, Government of Karnataka, Bangalore, Administrative Training Institute, Government of India, Mysore. I welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Before starting with the formal presentation from our respected expert, Dr. Prabhudev sir, I welcome you from my side also, and I think you must be knowing about our roots that JSS Academy of Technical Education Noida is basically from Mysore only, and I think you must be aware of I think our holiness. Shivatri Deshikendra Mahaswamiji, who is the 25th pontiff of Sattur Maitur Math. So, from being the chief patron of the International Faculty Development Program, I welcome you on behalf of the entire management, sir. We'll be enlightened and delighted to listen to your valuable expertise, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Please, sir, you can continue, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful introduction of me to the audience. It was really so kind of your esteemed institution. The way it is being organized, it's really good.
Thank you, sir.
So I would like to start with today. I was worried of the situation in today's education system. I'm worried of how things will go post-COVID. When I was asked to select a topic, I thought the situation post-COVID is something which everybody will have to look forward, how we will actually cater to the students, how we will give the education which we were giving all these days through the formal education. And now it becomes our duty, especially being from the academic, it is our duty to see to it that we don't compromise with our learning teaching pattern. And obviously from the student's perspective, the learning pattern, it must not affect anybody, and the education has to go. Now, keeping this in the mind, as of now, there is no other option left with us. It is only through digital learning, or what we can call it as online pattern. But being in the drafting committee of National Education Policy, there are some critical findings which we had there when it comes to learning. Learning it starts right from the younger age, right from the kindergarten. It is found from research that the brain of a child, what it develops in its initial 6 years from the birth, that 6 years, 85% of the brain is developed in the first 6 years. So later, whatever the remaining 15% is just what we collect, how we mold ourselves in our later part of the education system. Only this will support us or enlighten us. So it is very important for us to focus on different education system. And digital learning is a challenge today. Now, all these days, teachers were actually in contact with the students They were helping them in creative activities or guiding them directly, but henceforth the situation will change. At least for another 1 or 2 years, we find that working on digital learning is very critical for all of us. Now, sitting in a far off place, how for them to catch what we are trying to tell them? These are all challenges. And keeping this in mind, what should the academicians do? Irrespective of whatever classes we are teaching, whether it be in a school, whether it be in a +1, +2, or in a graduation or in a post graduation, any kind of education. Now, it is very important for us that we take up the initiative. Having teachers, we should first upgrade ourselves. I would like to share my slides with you. I hope the slide is visible.
Yes, sir. The slides are visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
Okay. Pardon me?
Yes, sir. The slides are visible.
Visible. Okay. Okay. Now let us start with the digital learning. What was happening pre-COVID? Most of the cases we were digital learning, we didn't think of much. It was only the normal PPT which we were using, and
Bolu.
for us,
Excuse me, sir.
you might have.
Excuse me, sir. Sorry to interrupt you. I think your voice is getting break. It's break. We are not audible, sir.
Is it now audible?
Now it's audible, sir. Now you are audible, sir. I think some network issue will be there. So we will be back after a while. Sir, Prabhudeva sir. Can
Okay.
you continue your slides?
Am I audible, madam?
Yes, sir. Now you are audible.
Okay. So now during this COVID, what we observed is we are teaching from one part of the corner and our students in some other part. We are not aware whether they are actually listening to our teaching, or are they understanding, or you just saw how the connectivity of internet is, data and the cost of the data, so many parameters. It all depends on the economic condition of the student also. Maybe we can think of data purchasing, but what about the student's perspective? How will they do it? So it's really a challenge for henceforth for all of us, how to cater education to our students. Are we tech savvy? Are we technocrats? Can we understand technology? Can we learn technology in pace with the students? These are all the future challenges what we will face. You know, as we know today, even small kids, the maybe or 1 or 2 years kids, they have learned or they are learning how to handle mobile gadgets, mobiles and all different kind of electronic gadgets, and we have to pick up our pace in relation with, in parallel with these youngsters. This is what we have learned in the past lockdown period. Now, what to do post COVID, how things will go, that is the topic what I would like to discuss today with all of you. It's very interesting, it's very alarming that what we have to do, how we have to maintain our decorum with the students. Will they really listen to us? Because in a formal class itself, there are a lot of problems, but in digital mode, digital pattern of learning, how do we do it? It's a real challenge for all of us. Now let us see, let us learn one by one how we will actually try to compensate all these lacunas during the post-COVID pattern when when we are implementing digital learning in our institutes. Okay, number one, first, teachers or professors, associates, whosoever it is, we have to first upgrade. Gone are the days when we were just thinking of teaching something. Yeah, we knew we have knowledge and we had to express in a formal class. Now, days are gone. Things will be recorded henceforth. All the classes, what you teach in a digital learning pattern, all the things will be recorded. So I don't feel henceforth there is something called as workload. Normally we calculate something called as workload for each teacher as individual. So I wonder really henceforth, will that something called as workload have any relevance? Most of our focus will henceforth be even on research and development and other activities in conducting online classes, maybe teachers supporting few experts in an institute in making documentation or recording the audio and video classes. So these kind of patterns is something what is expected henceforth in any institute. It is not that all these days we would have observed in a timetable, typical timetable, we had many teachers, different courses, different subjects were allocated to different teachers and they were going to the classes and teaching. Now, post-COVID, it may not be the same. The institute may pick few of the teachers, maybe say in a strength of about say 50 teachers, it may select the expert maybe in certain subjects. It may pick up about say 10 faculties who are experts in teaching, and maybe the remaining 40 faculties will have to support these 10 faculties in creating the recording, maybe audio video recording, in the documentation, in making notes for the students and circulating it to the students. This is what we can observe in the coming days. So teachers will no more just be teaching in the classes. It is a multitasking, and this is where I think all-rounders only will survive in the post-COVID-19 scenario of digital learning. People who are not accustomed or adjust themselves to the new digital pattern will, or maybe they may become obsolete in future. So this is an alarming situation for all the teachers and in the academics, that it is high time you upgrade or you will vanish. That is my first point. Second, any teacher in a formal class, we had our own identity with our students. We had maintained our identity with our students. We had created a love, the way we express our thoughts. So they would have loved to come and attend our class. So it was a face-to-face interaction all these days. So the identity existed for a teacher. Henceforth, I really we will have to worry whether this identity will remain of a teacher henceforth. So it is very important for us to focus, maybe follow some different pedagogy to attract the students in maintaining our identity as a teacher. It is a really big threat post-COVID. So the third point I would like to express is, as much as possible, I really don't want to say that everybody may be technocrats or everybody will be good in technology, but as much as possible, please give thought on enhancing your, uh, knowledge on digital mode. Maybe please learn how to use a digital pad with a digital pen. Maybe if you're working on an analytical subject, that would help you in teaching better, rather than just showing some PPTs or some YouTube links, or some you can work live. Give that feel to your students, that the same way how you would have worked on a board, that you can do using this digital pad and digital pen. I would suggest you to please at least learn this. There are many other patterns, but initially at least to make it interesting for the students, consistent. Certainly you can do it. It is not impossible. In fact, our elders who were seniors in academics, they also found the same difficulty when computers came into picture, and they were typical normal chalk, white chalk and board they were using, and then this computer currently working so well, the next generation. So this is time, high time now. It is time for us also to accustom to the digital pattern of learning, of delivering the learning through digital mode. This is something what I would like to stress on. And the other very critical important part is teachers. The tendency of teachers, many teachers, is they try to explore different patterns or different ways of teaching, maybe using different gadgets, different electronic devices. Certainly this will happen. I suggest in any institute, all these teachers who have the mindset of educate your colleagues, help them in learning, in digital learning as a whole. The next I would like to focus on is in my next slide. The other thing very critical now, gone are the days that students henceforth people may not actually come and sit in the college. They need not, gone are the days, attendance, gone are the days. Henceforth, it will be something like the schooling will happen from a long distance. They may sit in their house and you may have to conduct a class from your college, or maybe even from your house, you'll be communicating via technology like how we are using Zoom here with our students. So look at this, how the transformation in learning pattern. Earlier, we never ever dreamt that a situation arise wherein we will be sitting in our house and our students will be sitting in there listening to our classes. Gone are the days rural students cannot come to this was a big problem with everybody, that yeah, we have to travel from rural place to the city zone and learn things. Now gone. What is happening now? Because of digital learning, we have the data at a much better price compared to the previous maybe a decade ago. And now school is no more formal kind. The rural education will just sprout out like anything henceforth, and lot of revolution will happen. It is time, it will be time for all institute. They may not just exist in the city zone. They will start exploring opportunities during the COVID period. It is shrinking, so most of the peoples are moving back to the rural places. So education, now it's time that you also, or we also, touch the rural place. So this is a very important point to be noted by all academicians like us. Then challenges are not just only from the academic perspective. There are other non-educational challenges. For example, how do you make a student pay the fees? How do you make a student attend your class? How do you make a student concentrate? Or how do you make a user-friendly kind of an environment? These are all very, very challenging. It looks very simple when we are speaking, but when we are executing this, it is really very tough. High time we make interactive. We must make sessions interactive. In my experience, we tried in our college to conduct online classes. Initially, the attendance was just 10%. 5 to 10% was the attendance initially. Then gradually, in a span of 1.5 months, it touched about 60 to 70%. So 70% was our attendance. This is the reality, what we observed. 30% student, whatever we tried to do, it was really a challenge and they could not make it. They had various reasons for it. They said the data didn't exist, they were poor, so they couldn't purchase the data. Now these are all non-educational challenges where the educational institute will have to facilitate. The educational institute will support in digital learning to the student. Is a big challenge. Then the next point would be to study at home. How do you make the office policies, which I've already discussed with you? There are other non-academic perspective. Pattern has to be done. be developed. All these days, we had never thought of a digital studio or recording studio. Now we will have to invest in a recording studio. How do we make it a policy has to be designed? How will be the fee of other cities?
Sir, you are not audible. I think.
Yeah, now?
Now it's audible, sir. Now
Okay.
you are audible, sir.
Okay, thank you. So these are the areas. Future teachers, as I have been iterating again and again, teachers are no more just people who can share knowledge with the students. Henceforth, teachers will become psychiatrists. Will have to behave like a psychiatrist. They may have to counsel the students online. It will be at the individual level, not at the class level. It will be at the individual level. It's very important. So teacher will have to act like a data collector, try to understand what individual students, how they are actually behaving, what is their learning pattern. Are they fast learners? Are they slow learners? Or are they medium paced learners? Or you will have to design your own pattern to simplify the same topic based on what kind of a learner a student is, and then cater the education. It is not like in the previous scenario in a typical formal class, you would have waited for the student to ask a doubt and then you would have clarified and then moved ahead. Things are gone. Now you will have to observe how you will monitor all that I'll explain you in my coming slides. But here I would like to point out that teachers henceforth will no more just be teachers. They will be data collectors. They have to work like problem solvers. They have to be researchers, which academician by default, they have to be researchers. If you're not researchers, then it will be a problem for you to update yourself and grow in this so-called academic services. And then you will have to plan the classes at the individual level. What I suggest the faculties to go when you're entering into digital learning is you please identify what kind of students you have. Like I said, are they slow learners, medium learners, or fast learners? Based on that, you will have to plan your class accordingly and teach them in such a way that they understand it and not wait for a feedback given after the chapter is completed or in a semester end or test will be conducted. No, that will not work out. Rather, make it an interactive class, and you know your segregation of students, you have already done it. Ask the same question in a different way to different class of people, a different class of students in the same class. How you do it, it's very challenging. Again, you can customize by discussing with your faculties, teachers in your college or in your institute or in your university. You can certainly do it. Then teachers are during the digital learning period, you will have to be facilitators. This is a challenge. I said you have to teach, but then how can you also be a facilitator? Gone are the days where you will have to teach each and everything. Now, because there is a distance gap between the teacher and the student, now you will have to act as a facilitator only. You will have to teach them how this works and how this can be helpful in the life by giving some examples, and let them come out with their innovative ideas, and maybe that will help in enhancing their growth. And other point I would like to specify at this point of time is students post COVID, they will no more be dependent on you. Even if They would rather like to be self-dependent. They would rather love to be self-dependent, and they will not literally, this is my observation, they will not come and ask you for each and everything. So how you maintain that bondage, and since they will be self-dependent, is again a challenge for all of us in the teaching fraternity. Now, this is something I would like to explain or share with my uh, colleagues in the academic field. In learning management system, I've just given you the examples, but you can design your way. There is no hard, fast rule that you have to use same pattern. You can add one or two processes inside this, or you can reduce the process. It is left to you. But I would find blueprint. Maybe you can customize it. How the first pattern would be collaborate anywhere. You know, in the digital learning scenario, data is something very critical. Now, when data is critical, you have a lot of data, you have a lot of classes, you'll be recording many audio video classes. Where will you keep it? Now, this is the place where you may have to go to some cloud kind of environment, like going to Google Drive. I'm just giving you an example. They collaborate in any environment where you can store all the data. As I said, workload concept will vanish in a span of some years from now, or maybe immediately. We'll have to just wait and see how the industry will take this. And all the videos will be recorded, so they will be played again and again, and only the clarification, as I said, the student will become self-dependent. So you will be giving him the recorded version, so he will no more be interested in sitting in your class. He will play anywhere, anytime, anywhere, in any place he likes. So your role as a teacher will not be the same as it was earlier. So that is the first point. And the second in learning management system is manage all your tasks. In the institutes, as I have told in my previous slides, that teacher will no more just be a teacher. Now you will have different tasks in your institutes. Maybe you will be engaged in laboratory activities, or maybe you will be engaged in documentation activities. You will be engaged with some NAC activities, or all these different kind of works will be allocated to you, because, and this you will have to schedule it. Along with that, you doing your teaching class. Teaching will no more be your mainstream. Teaching will be just a part of your profession. So how will you manage this? Is a big thing. Then the next would be, how do you manage your classroom? How do you manage your classroom? What would you do? What were we doing all these days? We had something called as attendance register. We were really know whether who were actually in the who were attending the classes, and who were not. We could easily make an analysis of all that. But how do we do now? Now, there are a lot of software products in the market who are coming and taking that, so that we will make an analysis of the result analysis of all the things. So just outsource. Is it viable for all institutes? Is a question. If the institute is a big and financially sound institute, maybe they may do it. But what about other small institutes? How do they do it? Now you might, this is what I said, teachers will have to upgrade. You must know how to use Excel, how to use Google Forms, and you can analyze the data. These are something which you will have to know when you think of managing your classrooms. As I said earlier, you would have already trifurcated your students into poor, medium, and fast learners. So you will have to work on and focus on the students who are not that innovative way of homeworks, so that they also have a participatory. We have to create an experiential learning environment. Unless and until we create an experiential learning environment in the digital learning world, we cannot really succeed. All this, it's very important. All this is possible only when you communicate with the students. We had faced this problem. We were trying to communicate with the students. The students were not active in some of the issues, and the parents we had to send it to the parents. So how do you communicate is another challenge. You have to be a primary database where you communicate. You must also have a secondary database. Maybe it can be the parents or the sister, brother, or somebody of the student. Even they have to get that information parallelly. Otherwise, again, we'll face a problem of the information not being shared with the parents. The college would do its 100%, but is it actually reaching the parents or the relatives or the people who are guardians of the students? It's very important. So communication is very critical. Similarly, not just with the parents, communication inside the department and inside the college is also very critical. My experience says never assume. Never assume in the academics that my colleague would understand by default. This means so. Please never be in that mode of thinking where your assumption need not be correct. I don't want to say that you will not be correct, but it need not be correct. So you must never assume. For each and everything, please post an email and communicate, bring it in white and black, and so that the documentation is proper in any communication. This is my other suggestion. And then, because we're very new to this sort of digital learning pattern, we will have to administer with very high professionalism and confidence. If we really don't have that confidence in executing what we are thinking, then lies a problem. The full system may collapse. So we will have to certainly be communicating with our seniors in the institutes and have the confidence that we can do. Even though we may not be that good in technology, not an issue, but please believe in yourself that you can certainly learn new things. This is an opportunity for all of us to learn. The digital learning can happen, not just for the students, even for the teachers. We will have to explore our talents hidden inside us. So this is the right time for all of us. Now, as I said, the future in education relating to digital learning is different. All these years, we were working in our college. I mean to say our college, we were limited within the four boundaries of our college. Future in digital learning, no more. We will have to explore opportunities where we will connect with not just our institute, we will have to connect with the best of the best teachers throughout India or maybe throughout the globe. We will have to have a collaboration. We may have to think of co-creations, innovativeness. All this will happen in the future digital world where we will get the best of the best kind of teachers, and we will have to support and encourage all the best teachers. I am stressing on the word best teachers. It is very important. If we have to survive in the post-COVID, we have to become the best of the best teachers. Otherwise, things will not be the same as we. Okay, three people have raised a hand. I'd like to know what is it? Can you just? Okay. Anyhow, these doubts, can I please keep it with you? At the end of the session, I would certainly take and clarify if there are any things which I would like to, you may share with me or I can share it with you. I'll just do it at the end rather than getting interrupted in between.
Yes, sir. We will take the questions at the end. Okay.
So high time, it is not just the big universities which can collaborate with different foreign universities. Now things will be open. Even foreign universities will give an opportunity for even a small institute to tie up with them, get the best of the best faculties to teach our students. This is a beautiful opportunity. We cannot miss this. This was not the scenario earlier. We can see countries like America or USA, countries in the European continent or in Australia, New Zealand. We could really not access any of these universities all these years. You just wait and see, watch, give a try. I'm sure you will get the best of the best teachers and academicians. Easily you can collaborate henceforth, because even they know now things are not same as it was earlier. Neither it will be the same for us henceforth. So everybody are in the same. We had universities in India like Nalanda University, Takshashila University, all the best of the best universities, and all of a sudden, due to some sort of revolution which happened in India, we lost all the best universities, and the foreign universities grew back. Now because of this post-COVID, things are again same, smashed. And now we all will be in the same place. Now we'll have to launch ourselves, all the Indian best of the best universities. It is a high time that we also stand in par with the foreign universities and sport. So when we try to do this, certainly I'm sure this connectivity, this collaboration, co-creation, everything will happen. This is a beautiful opportunity, my dear colleagues. It's a beautiful opportunity. And learning henceforth, as I've been telling, it's no more in a classroom kind of an environment. It will be something like it can happen anywhere. Let the student be anywhere, let the teacher be anywhere. It doesn't matter. Even if the faculty wants a leave, it doesn't matter. They can take classes from their place. If they are busy at their place, they can record the sessions of 1 or 2 hours, and they can upload it in the cloud or in Drive, and they can play it. That's it. Their colleague or anybody can play it on behalf of the faculty. So education now has no limitations. It is full open now. And then I would also put forth that customization for a learner is the first. As we all know today, whether we like it or not, something what we call in the selling of products and services, here also comes the customer is the king. I mean to say the student. The student will decide the fate of the teacher henceforth. It was earlier also, but now it will be even more. The teacher will decide the fate of the student. Sorry, the student will decide the fate of the teacher. So you will have to customize your teaching pattern for each and every student, especially. This will be the key to success of any institute in the digital learning post-COVID. The next point I would like to put forth is, now we will have to test. Testing is not just look at this international faculty development program. Had we ever done, I don't know, very minimal, maybe in big institutes like IIMs or IITs might have done, I really don't know to what activeness, but look at the way now things are happening. Any institute, now they are into digital mode. Now this is a testing period. Now we are testing the test. Now this is what exploring different opportunities. All institutes have equal opportunities, and this is the future. This will happen. Henceforth, this is what will happen. And the last point in the future of digital learning would be, we will be sharing our private space in the public cloud. It's very, very important for us to know what we have to share, because our data will no more be just with us. It will be, the revolution had started actually, but in the future, post-COVID, lot of our data will be in the cloud. Now we have to be very careful, because we are not uploading the data of the teachers. We are not uploading the data of the institute or the university. We are also uploading the data of the children. We have to be very careful. This I will discuss in my future video, the slides. And this is what I would like to stress when we think of digital learning in the future education perspective. Now look at this. What are the limitations? Yeah, I said this is a beautiful opportunity, fantastic, all this is that, this is good, and it will create a big opportunity for us to get connected to other institutes. Fine, but is it really effective? You might be wondering, many of the audience here also, when you were listening to my talk, you might have had this doubt in your mind that, okay, can all these online classes really be as effective as the typical traditional classes? As of now, because this is a transition phase, change is certain, change is inevitable. Whether we like it or not, but we are forced to change. Now, how we will make our class effective on a long run is something what we all will have to sit and design the mode. Now, we will also have to think of how the impact on the students. We can see there are a lot of depression cases happening in the country because of the school closure. They are having the classes in the residence, which the students also were not used to. Now they have to work on it. How to do that? This is a challenge. This is a transition. Now we all will have to focus on how this can be made a user environment, user-friendly environment. Should we teach the students to create a place in the house where they can actually sit and take the digital learning happening in their house? It cannot be made like in a hall, in a house, in a hall. I've seen while making a digital learning class, online classes, I've observed the student is sitting in the house hall where he is listening to the class, the people, the parents, brothers, sisters, they're walking behind the student. How can he actually concentrate? It's really a tough situation. Again, now we will have to support and guide the students in telling them where they will have to sit in their house. Maybe a much of friendly kind of environment. Talking with the students may help in solving this kind of a limitation. Then, of course, the next would be on the data, the cost of data. Supposing it were to be audio streaming, that's okay. But if it is a video streaming kind of a data or an online teaching pattern, then the data consumption will be very high. So data will be consumed. How much of data package will the students can afford? I'm talking of the students who cannot afford, economically poor. What will happen to them? So this is another disadvantage in digital learning. Now, academicians and the institutes must work on how we can provide, can the college support the students in data? Can they really help the students? This is what a challenge which we'll have to check in future. Now, next, I may not say in different courses, almost all the students, they need parental guidance. We feel that, oh, the student may be listening to the class, but we really don't know what is happening because they are using the electronic gadgets. Are they really listening to the classes? Are they really present? They would have logged into the Zoom class, and are they listening to us? There's no cross check. We really don't have, we cannot. So there has to be a parental guidance, at least to make their mindset, get them that mindset that you will have to henceforth go through the digital learning pattern. So how we can make them feel that, how to make them used to this sort of digital learning mode. These are next points which I have shown in my slide are very, very critical, very sensitive issues, especially students from their teenage. This is something which is dangerous, and whether people may not speak in public, but this is the reality. What we call it as sexting or texting, abusive and sexual kind of words, or using the technology in a different way. These kind of things can happen in digital learning in future. So institutes will have to really work on how to stop these kind of, can be cyberbullying and catfishing. And if some student, or if the relation between a teacher and a student is not fine, or a student and student is not fine, what will happen in digital learning? It's some sort of a revenge kind of a thing will happen. How to control this? And what about the exploitation of the deep web? You know what, these days we find our, just by clicking our name in Google, it gives our full database. They need not talk to me to find out who I am. They can directly go to Google and it will give all the details right from my school days till my current education, everything, all the details is available on the net. So even, you know, even the police department throughout the country says never post children's photo on WhatsApp or any of our relatives, brothers and sisters images on the WhatsApp or on any social media, because we really don't know who will exploit whom in what kind of a way. Then in digital learning, again the next would be, there will be a lot of, even now it is, but in future it will increase. How do we face this sort of hacking and security kind of issues in future? That's a challenge. Passwords are being hacked. Somebody calls us, asks for the OTP sent, and we think it is from the concerned office, and we share the OTP. What happens, we really don't know. All our data is on mobile. All the bank transactions, everything is linked with our mobile phone or the Aadhaar number. If any one document is leaked, then the consequence, we can't even imagine all that. How do we sustain all this? Keeping this in mind, the next would be the internet addiction. Whether we like it or not, even we are already addicted, but it is a challenge for all of us to see to it that we get less addicted, at least henceforth, because in digital pattern, gadgets will always be in our hand, and how we will use these gadgets is a big challenge for all of us. Now this addiction, how do we replace this addiction? What should be done? This is a serious note which we have to think on, and this is one of the biggest limitations of digital learning for the future. And the next is this something called social media behavior. We find today that everybody working on some sort of softwares like TikTok, and maybe creating videos on YouTube, uploading it, thinking that it would not affect them in any way. But reality is different. Once you get addicted to these kind of modes, research clearly says that if you get addicted to one sort of mode, there is some sort of hormones released in our body, which will make us feel happy. When we get that addiction towards anything, it is like a person getting addicted to a cigarette or alcohol. Whether the moment he always wants it, he will sell anything even to get it. It is that sort of addiction which can happen in future. So it is very important for us to think on how we can work on this limitations of digital learning. Then this is the next few points which I would like to say, that digital learning, whatever we do, whatever methodology, pedagogy, whatever we do, we have to focus on the skill development of the student. Today, degree, master degree, PhDs are no more, in the digital learning mode. In the future, education is not just the degrees what we get, it is what skill our student is having. Only the skilled employees are required in today's world. In future, it will be even more. So we have to work on classes or the teaching pedagogy in digital learning, which will focus on skill development of the student. It can be in any subject. How do they implement it? How do they apply it in the society? What sort of, let it be, he may be a MCA or a BCA graduate, but unless until if he doesn't know how to web design, what just a degree in BCA or MCA, what does it matter for any of the student? So this is what I would like to say. Teach the students how to apply. It can be in any stream, whether it can be in their own stream or the subjects what they have learned. If it is used in any other subject, it is fine, not an issue. But I think here the teacher's role will come into picture. Identify the strengths of the students, uh, create a department in the college which is specifically for skill development, counsel the student, try to find out what the skill is of the student and mold the student based on that. I know it is very difficult because parents have their own visions of making the kid something. So convince the parents that this is what your kid is strong in, and you will have to build that skill in the kids. Maybe your kid is very good in sports and you are asking him to write an algorithm. I really don't know how he will shine in the academics. So you must know he can specialize himself in sports itself using digital learning pattern. He can learn different technologies, techniques of playing different sports. I'm just giving an example. And then easy access in financial services. How we develop the students in terms of providing financial services. It is really important for us to know, even today, a Bangalore-based software company called Infosys, you might have heard, the only software till date they are still existing is a software called as Finacle, a finance software which they have developed, and it is posted, it is sold in different parts of the world by customizing with different banks, and they are existing. This is the power of digital learning. And then the third is the health. You may know that India is said to be the capital of diabetes. So it is high time we call India is a young nation. No doubt we are a young nation, but we are not a healthy nation. It's high time because of digital learning. Health is very important because we are no more moving. Our activeness is no more the same. We have to see to it that that activeness is done through some other ways. Keep our health very nice. How we do in the institute, for the teachers, for the students, it's very important. Ultimately, I would also like to say the digital literacy, how the college will support, the teachers in making them literate in digital pedagogy by giving them different trainings. That we'll have to wait and see how the colleges will do. This is very important. And this is what I had to speak with my dear academicians for this 1 hour of time. Already I have touched about 56 minutes. So now I'm open to any questions if anybody has, because a lot of people had raised your hands.
So thank you, sir, for nice and presentable session. We have some questions from our participants. I would like to take some of the questions. One of the question is, to what extent online classes should be encouraged for primary school children?
Primary school online classes, for primary school children, it is a challenge as of now. We have to work on it, because online classes is something we'll have to think that the major disadvantage is there will be a lot of addiction towards internet addiction. It is a big challenge. If by chance we'll have to balance it, we found that immediately as soon as lockdown was put in the nations, and we have seen that the students had never participated properly because they were not used to it. Maybe I feel under parental guidance, if the children attend the classes, then it will be successful. Otherwise, it cannot.
So one more question is there. How to handle psychological and technological aspects of students and faculties?
Psychological and technological, this is very important. First of all, a bit of training is required for the teachers and the students. How we train them, we'll have to design or customize in our institute. That is the only way. Because psychology is something which this situation and environment is a new thing for us. So we have to train ourselves. We may study from the using internet sources, but I suggest a proper training be given from the institute side to the teachers and students through some psychiatrists and counselors. That would help.
Sir, many questions are from this side. How to handle where the hardly network in many remote areas? How to handle the network in many remote areas? How to handle? I think they want to ask how to handle these digital learning in remote areas.
Education system, chain, CHAIN, chain education system, where if it can be that a student and teach a student who has got that internet accessibility, and let the student act as a teacher and teach the students who don't have that network. This is called as chain education system. This is what is followed in rural education system, and it can be incorporated even in digital learning phase.
From your point of view, did e-learning achieve its desired goals during the crisis of coronavirus?
No, it has not, because there was a big problem of the attendance and the way the concentration was in a typical class. They were not actually satisfactory. We will have to work how to make it interesting through innovative means. That is a challenge for us henceforth.
Will online class affect the employment of teachers?
Yes, yes. As I said in my presentation, that only the best faculties will remain in academics. If they are not best, at least they must be good team players and supporters to exist in the academics. Otherwise, the situation will be different in future.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful session. I hope it's a birthday. Thank you. Over to you, HOD sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a lovely session from our Prabhudev sir in post-COVID activities, and like the stress that he has paid over the post-COVID only, and queries that was answered regarding the chain digitalization process. I hope it would have really enlightened our participants, and the gray areas for this digital learning that he has showcased in how to access the best possible ways, they were really remarkable. Thank you so much, sir, for your lovely presentation and the time that you have spared for us for this International Faculty Development Program to enlighten all the participants. I once again thank from the entire management of JSS Academy of Technical Education, Noida, to spare and to come all over on the net and give your valuable time to us. Thank you so much, sir. Have a great day, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to talk with our academic fraternity. It was fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I look forward for more such kind of sessions where we can do some revolution in this situation. Thank you so much.
That's true, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Have a great day, sir.
Thank you.
Over to you, ma'am. Our next speaker.
Sir, we will, to all the participants, we will take 2 minutes break. We will join forever.
We will join back after 2 minutes, right?